All right, Coach Jeff here. Got some more kettlebell stuff. Tongue twister. All right, so some more kettlebell stuff for our training this fall. Okay, so we talked about the Turkish get up. Now we're going to move into sumo deadlift. Okay, the Turkish get up requires a lot of time and patience. You need to practice, and it's hard not to get frustrated with that one. So take your time, move well, move safely. Most importantly, don't worry about how much you're lifting or even getting to the full Turkish get up at first. Okay, make sure that you got that nice vertical arm placement, good movement in place. Practice, don't work out. This is a skill. You need to practice the skill. Don't let fatigue become a limiting factor for you. Okay? Very important to have that mindset especially when you're first learning. Okay, so another foundational move for kettlebell training is the sumo deadlift. It will prepare us and create a foundation for the kettlebell swing, the kettlebell clean, and even the snatch. Okay, so we need to, again, get really good at the sumo deadlift and its variations in order to reach those other types of more pure style kettlebell exercises. Okay, so there's two that we're going to focus on. Well, three if you count unilateral training, but the static stomp deadlift, and I think the value in this one is that it'll help teach us when to apply tension and when we should have tension and a lot of stability, because in a swing there's going to be moments of tension, moments of I'm not going to say relaxed, but less tension because we're moving, we're in transit from the swing upward swing position to the back swing, and you can't have tension when you're trying to move. You can have stability but not so much tension. Okay, so the static stomp teaches us the finish part of the ultimately the swing, and we want rooting into the ground. We want tension, so because remember the force of the kettlebell goes this way and out, so it can pull you forward off your rooting. So you got to get your feet rooted into the ground. That's why I made the recommendation of going barefoot training, or using a more of a cross training style of shoe, or even a Chuck Taylor, which are really good for this type of training. Anyway, so static stomp deadlift teaches tension when we need to apply tension in the swing. Okay, and it helps get you stronger. So usually we'll do this with one or two bells, a two-handed grip, or two double kettlebell sumo deadlift. I'm just going to use a couple of really light ones to demonstrate. So this is the static stomp. Okay, there's my kettlebells. You see, as I get set up on the bell, the V, or the handles, is pointing towards me, so I'm V'ing it back towards me. And this will come into play later when we start cleaning the bell and swinging the bell. But what I want to do is I'm going to step back just a little bit, get more into view here. Okay. All right. So I want to straddle the kettlebells. My ankle bones, or my arches, are going to be in line with the kettlebell. I want the first metatarsal, the fifth metatarsal, and the heel firmly planted into the ground. I don't want my feet rolling up off the ground like so. Okay, so I want to find those points. It's called the foot tripod, and establish that. I don't want to grip with my feet or my toes. I'm not clawing with my toes. They're relaxed, but I want that foot tripod, okay? And then what I'm going to do is hands going to start on the thigh, and I'm just going to sit back I'm going to try to keep my shins almost vertical. My back is straight. Doesn't really have to be vertical, but it needs to be straight or neutral position. And then I'm going to keep my neck in a neutral position too. And I keep sitting until I find the handles. Then I apply force into the ground to stand. Once I get here, I'm going to squeeze the handles, make my quads tight, calves tight, make my abs, shoulders, arms, everything. I'm going to tighten everything up, hold it for a 2 breath count, then lower, and shake it off. Okay, so that's your static stomp. And then the kettle, and it also happens to be the sumo deadlift, but we're applying tension. So you got your sumo deadlift with doubles. Okay, you got your sumo deadlift single bell, but 2 hands. And then you have your single sumo deadlift, 1 hand, 1 bell. So those are the ones we'll focus on. All right. Okay, so some red lights regarding the deadlift is the squat pattern, low back pain, the ability to hinge the hip or the active straight leg raise, rotary stability, especially when we get into the unilateral work, and trunk stability, core stability, and really focusing on making sure that we're maintaining good spine, good core stability, and alignment of the spine is critical. Okay, so let's go into remedial drills. All right, so the way it's written on your sheet, it's more of a mobility type. So we're going to go into mobility first, maybe a little bit of stability, and then some patterning and some motor learning skill to teach us how to deadlift properly. Okay, and we'll use some props, and I try to do this to where you could just use anything at home. You don't have to go get special equipment and so on and so forth. All right, so the quadruped rockback will look like this. Most of you should be already familiar with it, but there's 2 things that we really want to get out of this. One is we're going to mobilize and establish proper range of motion. So mobilize meaning we want to do some joint mobility at the hip. Okay, we'll get a little bit of. I'm going to keep my feet like I'm deadlifting, and this establishes range of motion. My hands into the ground. I'm going to press it away, set the spine, and then I'm going to rock back. And as you notice, I don't want to come into a relaxed position and do a child's pose. That's not what this is about. This is teaching us how to maintain spinal position, proper pelvic positioning while we're descending into a squat or a hip hinge pattern, okay? But we're just doing it horizontally. So if I was assessing someone, I would say, let's see that. Oh yeah, you can keep your spine straight. You're going below your knees. So that's a deep squat. Technically speaking, you have the range of motion to do it. So that's what that one's for. It can also help with centering of the hip. There's a unilateral version. I'll just demonstrate real quick, and this helps for mobilizing the hip joint as well. I'm just going to come here, bring my leg across, and do a few of those. And again, trying to keep I always want to be alert and aware of my spine and pelvis and what it's doing. Neck as well. Okay, this is just some joint mobility work here. All right, so that's the rockback, unilateral and bilateral. Okay, next is going to be your adductor rockback, and the goal here is we want to try to keep our spine as neutral as possible, but mostly we want to work on this inner thigh adductor area. They can get really tight on people. So I'm just going to show you from this way. So we're in our rock back position, and then I'm just going to bring my leg up to the side, and then I'm just going to sit back, and I get a little stretch there, and I'm trying to keep my back straight while I do this. See, I don't want to release and let my back round, so I'm going to set the core. I stop if I notice my back's rounding. I stop, and then I also want to rotate up as I do it. So a little, again, joint mobility here. Now if I wanted to do a little bit of static work, I can walk my hands over and stretch. So that's the adductor rock back. So now we're going to go into mobility of the ankles. They tend to be a problem for people who can't get into the deeper position when they're squatting or deadlifting. So if you have, one of the things is if you can't get down or you start to pitch forward, ankle mobility could be an issue. Okay, so like always, we want to start our work with breathing and then myofascial work, whether it's foam rolling, using a lacrosse ball, using a myofascial ball. Don't discredit or discount how effective breathing can be. Use your breath, do your box breathing, do your crocodile breath. Okay, maybe I'll do another video and add it to this on breath work just by itself. And do your myofascial work, whether you're using the ball, roller, lacrosse ball, whatever. Maybe you have a Theragun and you can use a Theragun or a Hypervolt, whatever your choice of tool is, just use it. Flossing with a floss band, cupping, those are all ways to help release tissue and improve range of motion, decrease pain, improve circulation, etc., etc. All right, so let's go into some PVC ankle dorsiflexion. Okay, you can use a broom handle, you can use a doorway, whatever, but I'm going to align this vertically, and then it's going to be in line with my small toe. And then what I want to do is get in my 90-90. I want to push my knee outside and over, around. See, I'm going around. The PVC in this case, and that helps align that talus in the malleoli, properly align the ankle, and allows you to move into range of motion. What's important is if you get to your end range and your heel starts to come off the ground, you might as well stop. You're not going to improve it by letting your heel come up. Okay, so that is the PVC ankle mob. I'll show you one from the front. Okay, so here I am, nice tall posture. I always want to maintain good neutral spine, pelvis. I'm going to take it and push it out and around. And if I look, my knees are well past my toes. So even though this is an injured ankle, I've worked on it and improved my ankle dorsiflexion pretty well. So it can happen, but you gotta spend time on it and work on it. It's not easy. Okay. Another great drill for improving dorsiflexion is, and remember, don't forget, you want to do this after you're breathing in your ball work, is the wall slide. So heels are on the ground. Heels are on the wall, I should say. I got my sacrum, my mid back, and the back of my head touching the wall. And then I'm going to slide down, maintaining those 3 points of contact. My feet are together as well. I'm going to go as far as I can. That's about it. Now just be cautious here with your knees. Some people's knees may not like this, so use the PVC one instead. I'm going to use this just to kind of demonstrate what it looks like, hopefully. This is more of a balance aid here, just to show you as I slide down, you can see what happens to my tibia, lower leg, and my knees. They mobilize over my toes. All right, so that's the wall slide, or wall dorsiflexion. Okay, so a couple of patterning or motor learning skills, things that help correct some movement issues while performing a deadlift. And one is for spinal position, and one's going to be more about the hip hinge and how we position ourselves when we're deadlifting. So the PVC pattern deadlifts, great tool. All I'm going to do is get a PVC broomstick, whatever, 3 points of contact, sacrum, back, middle back, and then back to the spine, and then just practice my deadlift pattern. And if I start going and I round my back, you can see the PVC comes off my sacrum. Or if I start going down and I drop my head, I lose contact there. Or if I extend too much, my T-spine comes off. So you want to stay in a range of motion that allows you to maintain those 3 points of contact, and over time that should improve. So that's patterning the spine. Now, say you're a person that likes to pitch forward a lot when you're deadlifting. We talked about the ankle dorsiflexion and its role in that. It could cause you to pitch forward. But it could be just simply that's a learned behavior or learned pattern that you got somehow, some way. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to use the wall deadlift to help fix it. So I'll show you one from this angle, and maybe I'll move this to a side angle so you can see it. But basically, I'm going to do a deadlift with my toes up against the bottom of the wall. And that helps me sit back. That helps me stay more vertical with the spine, keeps my chin back and not let me do that kind of stuff. It's a great tool. So I'm just going to turn this slightly, go down there, and then I'm going to put the kettlebell here up against the wall. Now, I'm going to try this without, I'm not even warm. Just what you've seen me do is the movement I've done this morning so far. So wish me luck. All right. So kettlebell's there. My feet, I'm going to get into my deadlift position. Your toes don't have to start out on the wall. You're going to get as close as you can to the wall while performing the deadlift. And your feet might be back away from the wall a little bit. A couple things you don't want to have happen is you don't want to frog your legs out. We want to maintain the integrity of the deadlift position while you're doing it, okay? And then over time, as your mobility and stability improves and the pattern improves, you can get your toes on the wall. So I'm going to start back away from it a little bit, do a couple, and then see if I can get on the wall. So sumo deadlift position, I'll go down. As you can see, that's pretty easy, right? So I'm going to move closer to the wall. I'm going to go down. Yeah, pretty easy again. So let's see if I can do it with my toes on the wall. Okay, hey, I did it. So a lot harder. I had to work a lot harder to do that. So that's your wall deadlift. It's a really great tool, you guys. Use it. Okay, and then while in training, while you're working, say you have ankle dorsiflexion, you need to improve that. You can do heels elevated deadlift patterns. So I'm just going to use a couple of plates, but I'd rather elevate my heels and have more upright posture than pitch forward in my deadlift. So we'll use this remedial deadlift pattern or technique to help maintain more. So my heels, let's see, I'll just film my feet. Are on the plates, sit back, stand, okay. That is the sumo deadlift segment of kettlebell training. All right, you guys, again, don't let fatigue be a factor. You're learning a skill, you're trying to improve movement. Make sure that that's your priority and not just the workout. All right, have fun.